Hey, what's going on? I hope you're doing good. I wanted to do some sound design today with the Nord drum, make something a little dark, and show you my process. I'm going to start with the Nord drum here, and then we'll make our way over to Ableton and finish up, hopefully make something kind of cool. Okay, so we're going to start with an initialized drum kit, and I'm going to try to get something a little low end here. So I'll start with pad 1, and I'm going to go down to these analog modeled waveforms. Let's start with A5, and I'm going to take the pitch down because I know I want it to be low, so I'm going to go down to 30. Great. I'm going to change the envelope type for this here to punchy. Maybe I'll do something like 35. Yeah, that sounds cool. Now, with these here, you have an option to change the pitch, so you can do like a pitch envelope, and it, you can make your proper like kick drums with this. This over here is the depth, and then over here is how long, or your time. For this patch or preset, I'm just gonna do 1, so you can like barely hear it, I think. Cool. You can kind of hear a little bit of that pitch decay. Boom. Cool. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy that sound. I love that sound. And I'm going to bring it to this pad here, number 4. So you can do that by selecting the pad, and you're going to hit Shift and then copy. Shift will hit these bottom white text parameters. So copy, and then let's hit this pad. Shift and then paste. And I'm going to open the decay on this one all the way up. These sound good. I think I'm going to add a little bit of distortion to them. Cool. That sounds great. So you can sort of notice that whenever I hit one of these pads, the other one is playing behind them. And I would love to be able to cut them off. So you have this option here, mono group, and it's essentially like a choke group if you're thinking about drum machines. So what you do is you hold Shift, mono group, and then we'll do the same for the pad that we want to choke off. Cool. All right, let's add something to complement this. Pad number 2, I'm going to grab a sawtooth, and I'm going to give it a 5th, so we'll go up to 70. Cool. The pitch, I want this to be 2 octaves above this here, so that's 24 notes or 24 steps, which would be 54. Cool. I'll give this a little bit of distortion as well. I think that's good. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy this, and I'm going to bring this down to this pad as well. So copy, paste. Maybe we'll move this an octave higher. So 54 plus 12 is 66. And we'll open up the decay on this. And I'm going to do the same thing with the choke groups or the mono group. So we'll choke that. Okay, I want to go back to that. I think it would be cool if I changed the pitch. And this is something that I really love about the Nord drum. You've got this decimal point, 0.5, and it's essentially a quarter step. So like if you're playing a guitar and you go like 0, 1, 2, 3, right? That's a half step. This is a quarter step, so it's your note in between the key. I'm going to take this longer decaying low end note, and I'm just going to bring it a quarter step up, so we get this sort of cool. I'm going to add this to these other ones. So we'll do the same thing. We're going to copy, paste. That sounds great. Which one is this? This is pad number 3. So we'll take this up to, I want the pitch to be 55. and then copy that, paste. And we're gonna take this to 52, I think. Lastly, I think that this would sound really cool if we had some reverb on it. To do that, we'll just select the pad like we did, hit reverb, and we'll give it an amount. 12 is probably pretty good, maybe 8. And then we're gonna select reverb. It's currently off. I'm gonna hold the button down, and then I'm gonna move this to P1, which I believe is a plate. I'm gonna leave it at 0. That's nice. I'm gonna add much more for this one here. Nice, okay. Cool, that sounds good. So I'm gonna bring this over to Ableton, but before I do that, I'm gonna use a trick that I had from my last video, which is I only have 2 outs here, right? I have the left and the right, and I'd like to take my low end stuff and put it on one channel so that I can process that separately than the high end stuff. So all my high end stuff will be, right? And then all my low end stuff where I'm gonna do like saturation and make it more punchy is gonna be those 2. So here's how I'll do that. I'm gonna select channel, I'm gonna hold this button down, and I'm gonna pan that to the left. Same, pan it to the left, to the right, to the right. Cool. All right, so we're gonna take it over to Ableton and see if we can start to clean this up and make something that's cool out of this. It's gonna be cool. I think you'll like it. Okay, so I've recorded a MIDI performance in, and I cleaned up the MIDI just a little bit. So this is the top MIDI here from my Nord drum, and then I've printed the audio, the left channel or the low end stuff on one track, and then the high end stuff or the right channel on another track. And basically what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna automate inserts and send effects to give the performance a little bit of life so that it's not just sort of this static thing that I played in. Before I move on, I think that it's important to just talk about my sends that I use. The first thing that I have, or send number 1, is Ableton's Echo. And I'm basically using the nostalgia preset, and it sort of has this delay sound that also has like a little bit of like pitch modulation, and it sounds really cool on synths. I have an EQ8 rolling the low end off. The second send that I have is just a simple delay and nothing really fancy going on here. This last one here is probably my most used send, and this is on almost every track that I produce. It starts with pedal, which is sort of like a stomp box emulation, and I have it set to distortion. I have the auto filter here just rolling off a little bit of the low end, and then it's running into Softtube's SAR 1R, which is just a room reverb. And I think that it comes free with like some hardware, like some of like the cheaper MIDI controllers, but I think you can get this for free. I love the way that this send sounds when you feed a signal into. It's got this really aggressive sound. So I'll show you an example of that. I'm just gonna pull up a drum loop here. Okay, I'll put that here. And I'll just duplicate that, and I'm gonna solo this. Just take a listen. I'm just gonna pick some random places to automate in. Maybe I'll do one here, and maybe I'll do like a long one like this. And let's just take a listen and see what that sounds like. Right. Sort of a simple thing, but it just gives it a little bit of life. And that's a lot of what I'll do for my sends. On the insert, another thing that I use a lot is something like pedal. And I do this with a bunch of different effects, but I really like to use the fuzz. And I'll turn on the sub, and then I'm just gonna automate this dry wet here. And I'll use the same insert shape for that. Let's see. And again, I'll just sort of just be random with it, like not really overthinking this here. And then I know I've got this other sort of distortion, so I'll put that there and we'll just see what this sounds like. And you know what, let's add some delay while we're at it. So we'll do something like that. And I'll put some delay on the insert as well. And Maybe we'll do like that. I don't know. Let's see what this sounds like. I think that that sounds much more interesting than just this. Okay, so that's sort of an important part of the process that I'll use to sort of bring this performance to life. So let's get started. Oh, shit. Oh, shit. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to layer my low-end bass sounds with a kick drum. And I have this MIDI from whenever I recorded the performance in. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create another MIDI track. I'm going to drag this or duplicate this down, and I'll create a drum rack. And I know that these first two MIDI notes here are my low end for the bass. And what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna put those all on one track. This is my snare. I'm gonna put this on the second track or the second pad. And I'm gonna get rid of the rest of this stuff because I'm pretty sure I don't wanna use it. And this middle stuff, I'm gonna pull that out as well. Okay, let's take a listen to just the low end here. So I like this kick for that. Okay, let's listen to these together. I'm going to duplicate this track and I'll take out the high end here or the snare drum hit. And then for this one here, I'll pull out the kick. Cool. So, and I'll label it, so keep it organized. Kick, snare. Great. Oh, I'm just gonna use that for right now. Okay, let's listen to this not soloed. I already like that a lot. I want this to hit a little bit harder. I'm just gonna throw a glue comp on here. Cool. And then I never use makeup gain. I always like to find another creative way to get more volume. So I'm gonna use the drum bus because I know that this can sort of pump things up with volume, but I might also use something like saturator, or instead of using makeup gain, what I may do afterwards is put an EQ after it, and then I'll pull up the parts that I wanted to highlight afterwards, instead of sucking up headroom with just gain, doing it in a little bit more of a creative way. I like that. And saturator. On this group here, we'll do the same thing. I'm gonna add drum bus. Cool, I really like that. And so now I'm gonna start messing around with doing some synth effects. So I like that. I think it would sound sort of cool to have like the delay come in and out on the clave for that. Cool, and we'll just automate that. So we'll add some drive synth. I didn't really hear a lot of that, but who cares? For this next one here on the low end, I'm gonna add some drive. I want it to be like aggressive at the front hit here. I like that, that's kind of cool. And then ramp that up, and I'll just maybe do something like this. Oh, I've got another one that I like. So on this low end here, I'm gonna add a delay to this. Turn the feedback all the way up. We're gonna turn sync off, and we're gonna make this super short. What I'm doing is I'm just like searching in here for this tone to get sort of like I don't know, like another harmonic in there. I noticed that at 22, I've got something that sounds like it's like an octave higher or maybe an octave lower. It just sounds like electricity to me. I don't know what's happening in reality. I'm gonna unlink them, and then I'll make this one 22. I think it was 22.1. And then see. Same thing. I'm just gonna automate the dry wet on that. All right, so what's that sound like with the mix? Put in like a drum loop here. Cool. All right, I'm hearing sort of like a whom, like a Hans Zimmer. There it is. My MIDI controller's right here. Oh, by the way, OBXD, Disco DSP. This thing's free. It sounds so good. You don't need to buy an OBX8 for $5 million. Just use this. It's free. It's totally free. It's free. It doesn't cost anything. Okay. Cool. I'm going to bring in Ableton's wavetable, and let's see if I can come up with a chord. All you. Rise it up like that. Instant retro. Duplicate. I'm gonna duplicate all the automation that I had for this because this part of the track is the same as this, and then the outro is just a little bit different. Done. Maybe I might want to add a little bit to this. I don't know. It's dark outside now. I think I'm just gonna throw like a quick master on this thing. Bass mono, EQ, and I'm just gonna roll off just a little bit of the low end. It's a glue compressor, and I'm gonna set the attack super slow and the release quick, and I'm just gonna let the transient get through, and I don't care if it sort of makes it like aggressive sounding. I don't like to use makeup gain. Instead, what I'm gonna do is I'll get the volume back, which I'm only doing just like maybe 1 or 2 dB of reduction. Probably add much more with the EQ. And I don't know anything. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna look for sounds that I like, and I'm just gonna try to highlight them, the parts that I want to come out of the mix. And maybe somebody else would do it differently. Or I'm doing it wrong, but I don't care. All right, I gotta listen. Saturator and this limiter here. And then I'm gonna add Pro L2, negative 0.16. Okay, I think that this is it. We'll take a listen. If you get a chance, listen to my album, Precipice. It's on all the streaming platforms. I'd appreciate it if you took the time to do so. Bye.